See if we are live. These streams are a little bit wonky on Streamlabs, but okay, it looks like we're live. So I just want to get back into this. How do I move this side panel? All right, let me get back to my placement. We're talking about noses, and we're on this page here. All right, so it says the angle at which the eyes rest compared to the central axis of the face can change the T into more of a Y, or alternately more of an arrow shape. Then it has various T shapes in action. And I'll show you guys one that I'm working on right now. And I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the eyes. And honestly, the nose gave me get it to more so where I want the nose relationship, the head shape kind of just comes easily in a way. So yeah, let's go back to the book. With thickness, therefore the stem or nose of the T can be thicker or thinner at either end. Okay, and the arms or eyes of the T can also change in thickness to accommodate big, round, or narrow, squinty ones. Imagine a contoured capital T drawn around the eyes and nose in varying relationships. Okay. Then we get into the pulley system. And this I do understand, so I don't necessarily need to review this because I think I kind of get it, but I'll read a little bit of it. So he says, pulling a fast one. One very general relation. Imagine them connected by a pulley system. Going up, as the eyes are pulled apart, the nose is raised closer into the bridge area. Going down, if the eyes are drawn together, the nose gets farther away. So let me go back to my drawing. I don't know if I really exaggerated too much. I did. His brow ridge is very prominent. And I'm not done with this. It's still a work in progress. Okay, I see what I need to do with the nose. So that, what's it called? I'm going to find out what the septum of my drawing of the nose needs to be thinner. I think it's a little bit joint. And then the eyes. I'm really still trying to figure out the eyes. I'm wondering if it's a matter of shading. And I do think this eye with the outside corner, it could be squinting. But ultimately, I like some of my work to have some stylistic differences than the original, so it's not the biggest deal. But overall, another thing I think I'm going to do is give him a bigger forehead, because I feel like I made his forehead I shrunk it too much. So I think I'm going to give him a bigger forehead as well. I think that might help make the head shape just an idea. Okay, so now it's going to go into mouth and chin, and I'm not focusing on that. But it is talking about the action and reaction. It says I'll read a little bit. The shape of the T reacts to changes you make in the relationship of the eyes and nose. In most cases, the eyes and nose work in a predictable tandem. Imagine that the eyes and nose are connected by a string that travels through a two-wheel pulley located directly between the eyes. And nose are connected by a string that travels through a two. The length of the string is constant. If a person's eyes are moved further apart, the string pulls the nose upward, closer to the eye line. If the nose is made longer, then the string pulls the eyes closer together. All of this takes place within the T shape. So I guess with my drawing, I could bring his eyes a little bit closer together. That's one adjustment. I could see how it'll play out. Now I would like the side panel to come back. But I know I need to, well, this is also a good one right here. Some examples of the T shape within the head shape. And he creates the contours within each drawing. Teeing off, a few caricatures with the T shape and head shape indicated beneath the surface. You can see how the simple shapes underneath create strong exaggeration once the details of the face are added on top. Okay, so let's skip the head shape. And I want to go to page, what was it, like 54? Okay, this is eyes. And then we're going to go to, well, this part's also important. Drawing and exaggerating the eye. Various things to exaggerate. Angle, size, asymmetry. And then when I go to my drawing, he clearly has an asymmetry where the left eye is much more squint. Not a straight on photo. It's kind of at a... And he says, oh, and I could have did the asymmetry. So I could have did almost all of it. All three of those aspects. I could have done better, to be honest. Of any feature must be done with the whole in mind. It cannot be treated as a separate entity. If you are looking at your model's eye through a pinhole, you might be tempted to exaggerate the size of the eyes because, when viewed without any surrounding context, the eye will have a round and wide open look. However, when you take the rest of the face into account, it might very well turn out that the eyes need to be drawn small and beady with a massive face. Remember, all about the relationships of the features to one another, not the features themselves as examined individually. That's very important. So you got to keep the relationships in context, the surrounding context, the overall context. Whenever you make an observation, it needs to be compared to something else. He says, the angle of the eyes is the easiest thing about them to exaggerate. If the outer corners are higher than the inner corners, then you simply make them higher still, and if they are lower, you lower them further. Once you make the observation, figuring out the resultant exaggeration is easy. So then he shows an example, exaggerating by degrees. Our subject has small, close-set, squinty eyes. Push the eye shapes a little, making them closer and more squinty. Pushed a little bit more, the squint even narrower, and the eyes a bit closer together. So that's the exaggeration. Exaggerating the shape of the eye is a little trickier. When doing so, it can be easy to compromise the likeness. And that's what I was thinking about my drawing. I did make it squinty. When doing so, it can be easy to compromise the likeness. But when exaggeration here is done right, it can greatly enhance the likeness of the caricature. That's because the shapes of features, especially key features like the eyes, also describe the expression of the subject. And exaggerating expression is a central part of good caricature. If someone's eyes become squinty when they smile, then drawing them even more squinty will exaggerate that person's expression, as well as the physical appearance of their eyes. And expression is personality. Expression is personality. Capturing personality is always an essential goal. If your subject's eye shape is squinty, make the eyes more squinty. If they are big and round, make them bigger. And that's very key right there. I really like that. He says, expression is personality. Capturing personality is always an essential goal. I really like that. Expression is personality. Capturing personality is always an essential goal. So essentially, when it comes to caricature, we are, you're, but you're exaggerating the personality via making expressions more angular, making expressions bigger, really capturing a person's personality. And I think that's something I need to do better with my work. I need to capture personality better in my work. I do want to get to the noses. All right. The nose. The nose. Okay. We see some noses here. I think the feature most commonly abused in a caricature is the nose. Many people actually think the definition of caricature is just quote, a drawing with a big nose, and makes it such a ripe target for exaggeration. So often picked on, pardon the pun, that even the layman notices. Simply put, the nose is the most obnoxious of features. It sits in the very center of the face. It is a vertical feature in contrast with the horizontal nature of the eyes and mouth. It sticks out radically from the plane of the face, providing much more of an outcropping than do any of the other features. It's a de facto way to exaggerate the face. But the nose is like any other feature. Its perceived relationship with the other features must determine the extent and direction of the exaggeration. Many people have small button noses that need to be made smaller when exaggerated. In some cases, the end of the nose may rest close to the point between the eyes, and in others, it might lay far down the face. Some people have petite sniffers that could be left out entirely, while others have big, honking schnozzes that just beg to be stretched. In short, despite its prominence, the nose is no different than the other features. It must be exaggerated and drawn in a way consistent with its relationships to other aspects of the face. So this is my thought here. His theory, and it could just be a fact, that when exaggerating, you have to exaggerate things in context to the overall face or overall person. You cannot exaggerate something independent of the surrounding context, basically. So that's just a mental note for myself. So he gets into the anatomy, and I don't really want to go into the anatomy, but some of the words are good to know. Like when I was trying to describe the part of the face that I need to make thinner in this drawing, it's the septum. I feel like his septum is kind of thin and it has a point to it. And here I know I need to change that. Control over Procreate, it would be so easy for me to go in and adjust these things, but I'm still getting better at Procreate, so it is what it is. And yes, his eyes definitely do have an angle that I should, like if there's a tilt down, but I did kind of give it a downward tilt. It's just I didn't really exaggerate the downward tilt so much. Okay, so I want to skip. I'll just read this really quickly before I skip. So the wings of the nose, you got the nostrils, the septum. The pointed part of the nose is the apex. Then he calls like the side of the, I think the bridge is a lateral surface. And then he calls that part on top of the wing that goes into your like cheek area, the alar furrow. Well, he's not calling it that. That's what it's called. Okay. Simplifying the shape of the nose and seeing the nose shape. Knows what you're doing. I want to read this side. Okay. Knows what you're doing. As with all features, simplifying the shape of the nose is the key to both drawing it accurately and applying exaggeration. Seeing the nose as a basic geometric shape that encompasses the root, both the lateral surfaces and the lower ala, the apex, the distracting details and manipulate the feature on a simplified level. Nosing around. The shape of the nose can't be seen completely from a single angle. Here, the front angle shows a narrow root and wide bottom. A narrow root and wide bottom. Okay. The profile shows us a pointed and sharply protruding nose, not discernible from the front. So that's the way he... You know, it's so interesting. You know, everyone sees something a little bit differently. Like, it's definitely a talent to be able to go in and really make something so exaggerated like that, because it's kind of hard to break away from sometimes seeing things literally, and sometimes you see something different. Like for me, what I see in this side profile is not so much the nose. The nose is long. The distance from the nostril down to the top lip is very extensive. I think it's longer than average. I think he also has big ears. I think, what else do I see? I think the angle of his nose is kind of pointed upward. I think it has an angle to it, you know, that points kind of upward along with his nose. And then he has a very small chin and almost no jaw line on the side. Like from his chin to the jaw, you don't really see a line so much. Those are just my observations. And then I do see a bigger forehead. So, I mean, it's just so interesting to see how people would caricature something. Oh, I skipped this here. That's all right. I'm going to keep going. The effects of the angle of the head on the nose. So he talks about the backward tilt, where you can see all of the nostril, and you see the apex. Then you got the forward tilt, where you cannot see the nostril. And then you got the 3/4 for an advantage. The angle of the head is observed and drawn at makes a big difference in how the nose is perceived. With the head tilted backward, the nose appears shortened and upturned. In the forward tilt, the nose seems longer and downturned. The 3/4 view of the head gives us the most complete view of the nose, incorporating both front and profile attributes. Then he goes into the 3 important elements of the basic nose shape. You got the root width, the end width, and then the distance between root and end. Okay. This is the part I want to get to, and then I'm pretty much satisfied. From straight on, the nose is a basic quadrilateral. In most cases, at the bottom. There are exceptions to everything, of course, but that's a good generalization. To begin making your observations. Actually, you should have made some observations and choices about the nose back when you looked at the overall face and the T-shape. So these more specific observations will just build on our more general ones. I look for 3 different measurements or relationships of the nose. First, I look at the width of the root or bridge. First, I look at the width of the root or bridge of the nose compared to the overall nose shape. It's usually narrower than the width of the bottom of the nose. But if it's close to the same width, the overall effect is a thick looking nose, which is something I might want. Word might. All right, here we go. Some people have a very narrow but noticeable root, making it look like there is a pencil under their skin right between their eyes. Let me see. Let's compare it to this Nipsey Hussle. So I think his root is very thin, and I kind of try to put that in there. To the bottom, the bottom is significantly wider than the root. So I could go in and try to exaggerate the root thinness by bringing these two lines closer together. Okay, so he's of the root. And I need to be clear on what he's calling the root. I think he's calling the root, the top part, right. First, I look at the width of the root or bridge of the nose compared to the overall nose shape. It's usually narrower than the width of the bottom of the nose. And he calls the bottom of the nose the end width, okay? But if it's close to the same width, the overall effect is a thick-looking nose, which is people have a very narrow but noticeable root, making it look like there's a pencil under their skin right between their eyes. Next, I look at the lower nose and make comparisons between it and the rest of the face. Okay. So first, he's going to look at the bridge or the top part between the eyes, and he's going to compare that to the overall nose. And then he's going to look at the bottom of the nose and compare that to the overall face. Then he says, consider the relationship between the lower nose and the eyes. There's a distance, of course, and our T-shaped observation helped give us a fair idea of that relationship. How about the width? Where do the outside edges of the ala lie compared to the eyes? In classic proportion, the lower nose is the same width as one eye, corners of each eye. Is there a reason or opportunity to change this? So let me see on my drawing. If I look, let's blow this up a little bit. If I look here, there's just some things I would just change. Okay. Next, I look at the lower nose and make comparisons between it and the rest of the face. Consider the relationship between the lower nose and the eyes. There is distance, of course, and our T-shaped observations help give us a fair idea of the relationship. How about the width? Where do the outside edges of the ala compare to the eyes? In classic proportion, the lower nose is the same width as one eye, making its edges even with the inside corners of each eye. Is there a reason or seems wide? Making it wider than the inside corners of the eyes will be an effective exaggeration. If you observed earlier that the face itself is wide, and accordingly you drew the eyes far apart, then just drawing the nose width to line up evenly with the inside corners of the eyes will give you a wide nose. Then he summarizes it. I look at 3 different essentials that define the simple nose shape: the width of the root, the width of the end or bottom, and the distance between these 2 elements. At least from a front view, these 3 fundamental measurements create a basic, roughly quadrilateral nose shape. I look for the widest and narrowest part of the nose shape to begin, and I will use imaginary vertical lines, even with the center of the eyes, as points of reference. Oh, okay. He says use eye center line as... Okay, let me see. It's downward. I guess I'll have to email Tom and see what he says. Because where is it supposed to line up? I will use imaginary vertical lines even with the center of the eyes as points of reference. Okay. I need to find a traditional portrait and see. Let me type that in so we can look at traditional proportions. Traditional. There we go. This is what I want to see. Oh, man. Lost it. I lost it. Okay, let me just scroll. See if I can find it this way. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So, in this traditional view, the classic human proportion, the center of the eyes is supposed to line up with the outside corners of the mouth. And you know what? I'm going to start using this image here as a reference. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it for this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some drawing. And I don't know if I'll be able to save this one. To be honest, I don't know. But I can try. There's a few things I want to tweak. So let me try to tweak them out so I could focus. Okay, one thing I would do. Oh, you know what? I didn't even have to do it like that. I could just do it like this. I'll select selection. I'm going to select this. And then I'm going to move it. Oh, man, what happened to it? I knew that was going to happen. We undo that. Okay, I didn't want to increase the size of it. I just want to be able to move it. To be closer. All right. And then I'm going to adjust the angle just a little bit. Right there is good. So now we've made that thinner. What I would do is to work on this eye just a little bit. And it's just changing the angle. I'm kind of cutting off some of that extra meat. So let me see this. Okay. I want it to still be squinty. Let's see if I can turn it this way. Let's turn it like this. I would maybe do something like that. But still, even that doesn't look very squinty, which is strange. Because I took away the droopiness of his eyes, which let's just go with it. Then I want to get even thinner with this eraser. All right. Created a little bit of a separation in there. And then because I did that, there's a weird droop that I could see that's really not even necessary. So I guess I'll just cut it off. Oh, it's windy outside. Then I'll get. Okay. Another thing I said I would do is attack. Sorry, the septum. I gotta attack the septum because I think it needs to be pointier, kind of like that. So let me compare that to before. Wow, that's really not much of a difference. It's a difference though. It is still a difference. There's still a difference in there. So let me see that angle. And I think it's interesting. This line doesn't necessarily go all the way down. Kind of tapers off a little bit. And I don't like that angle. Because truth be told, I think the angle is kind of like this. Nope. I'm seeing it come to a point, then go down. So really it's like that, but then there's another shadow that's created. That kind of works its way to be a little bit more round like that, to be honest. And this side of the nose, I think it raises itself up higher than I have it. So I'm gonna raise that up and just create a better angle. It is possible that the nose is still a little bit. One of the problems, simplify it, I would kind of cut this part out because I don't know if that's necessary. And that could be throwing off the shape a little bit, So I cut that part out. It's just I can't really see what's going on over there. But I do know that this needs to be a little bit aggressive folding in. All right, so want to get descriptive with his nose. Nope, that's not right. Okay, let's try that again. Something like that. Okay, so I do think I made it different than it was originally, using some of those tips and tricks. However, I do think this could change just a little bit. To be somewhat like that. I made. So when I put the color back on, I'm going to see the deviations from where it was prior. And I can already see, and then the eyes got a little bit squintier. I like the eye difference. You know what? So let's start there. And man, it's been cold. It's been cold, cold, cold. All right, so let's go to my recents. Oh man, that was not it. Why is it doing that? Oh, I see why. Gotta turn this up. Okay. I think it's something about your wrist. Turn on this heat. Focus. Let's start with the base. I'm going to unlock the base. And we're going to repaint. We're going to do like that. Oh, and I got to do it up here. Okay. Then as we go back here, I have to say I'm going to use the, yeah, we'll use this, and then we'll just completely bring that into a dark. So we have a conflict going on with the layers, so I have to figure out what's going on there. There's something above it. It's this. Okay. Unlock. Erase. Whoops. Erase. Do it over here too. Let's see where I missed a spot. I gotta find out how to get some music playing while I'm doing this. It'd be nice to one day have a chat going, but we'll get there. Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to do that. Wrong layer. I'm lock. Okay. And down here. Okay. So